Well, hello. Welcome to the show. Um, Yesterday, I went through and I recorded a presentation on the Fascinus Talisman. It was a lovely chat that I enjoyed quite a bit. But when I was looking at the recording of it, I didn't really like how it turned out. And I felt like I rushed through some of the points, and there were some technical difficulties where I was not broadcasting at the beginning when I thought I had. And then when I went back, I didn't had a hard time remembering whether or not I'd already said things, so I wanted to make sure that I could go back over this stuff and actually uh, focus on the things that I need to talk about. So these are the Fascinus talismans, and I put them together, and I'm talking about this all within the context of these $325 talismans that I'm offering. But I don't want you to take this as just a sales thing. It is totally a sales thing, but it is not just supposed to be about that. I'm using this as an opportunity to express some of the concepts that I've been working with lately that touch on the aspects of the Dervani manuscript, for example, or several other kinds of things that I've been interested in with my cosmology that have been developing quite a bit lately. So let me make sure I have everything up and ready to go in the background here, because if I don't, you're going to see all my stupid Facebook stuff, and that's ridiculous. So here we go. Dervani manuscript. Dervani papyrus. Oops, that's Dervani papyrus. Many questions, some answers. Okay, so these talismans that I'm offering that I got all excited about. First of all, their intention, the design is intended to create opportunities for the person who's carrying it to find good, healthy, happy, positive sexual experiences for themselves. It's designed to basically get the bearer laid in the best possible way for that bearer, in the way that is most healthy for their needs and provides them with the most satisfying sexual experiences. The reason I think this is important is because I spent a lot of my life trying to repress or feel ashamed of my libido, my sexual drives, working with that construct of being that the sexuality was somehow a sin or something to feel bad about, left me hiding a lot of my sexual whatevers. And because I was not expressing myself clearly and accurately to my partners, I was causing problems in my relationships. It was a mess, So over the years, I've cleaned up my act quite a bit and faced some things about myself. Grew up quite a bit. Did some more initiation work. Did some more of the internal transformation process. Went to therapy for quite a while. And now I'm in a healthy relationship. I've got better foundations, better expectations, better realistic approaches to dealing with the situations that I find myself in this incarnation. And it's a different approach to things. And now I'm in a very happy and positive and exciting relationship where all of my libidinous urges have been met for once in my life. And it's really great, because it's freed so much of my attention that I had spent. We wrap up so much of our time trying to satisfy these sexual urges. Here in America, where I grew up, it's very much a cultural thing to be sexualized. Sexuality and selling sex is part of our culture from the very beginning. And I'm sure it's like that around the world and other places too, but I don't want to speak from other people's experiences because it tends to annoy the heck out of people. But the thing about having all these problems with art, like here in America, we have these Protestant upbringing. Like for me, it was very evangelical, charismatic Christian stuff, and the ideas around sexuality that they have in that culture where I was raised resulted in a lot of the healthy expressions of sex being repressed. And therefore, because sex was such a dirty thing, even though it was like obvious that there was lots of kids floating around, so we knew that everybody was having sex, it was still something nobody talked about. So that shadow around sexuality created opportunities for bad actors to do bad things, and it's something that I'm still dealing with as an adult. And a lot of other people I know I know from my youth went through the same thing, and they're having to deal with it too. So anyway, just dealing with your problem sexuality, with sexuality that you get instilled with um, in your process of becoming an adult. It can be a terrible thing to go through. So getting you to that place of healthy sexuality as a magician, in my opinion, takes transformation work. You have to go inside and do your inner work and clean up the stuff that you've gotten wrong along the way. But you also have to have opportunities to work all that stuff out and clean it up and to express it cleanly. You have to have an idea of what clean healthy sexuality is for you. Maybe you're monogamous, maybe you're polygamous, maybe you're whatever, ambiguous or whatever. Maybe sexuality to you is a spiritual thing. You're an asexual person, and you still want to have that creative flow that is accompanied by having your sexual aspects fully met. This could also work for an asexual person, even though it is very much a sexual talisman. It's designed to bring the bearer the perfect sexual experiences that they need to be able to accomplish their will, because we are distracted by our pursuit of sex, and we are often compromised by our messed up issues around sexuality. So yeah, at the end of the day, this is a get you laid talisman. Very much it's about getting laid. If you're an asexual person, maybe that'll help, maybe it won't. But just so you know, it's definitely a sexual talisman, but it's a healthy sexual talisman. One of the things that I want to make sure is really clear: this is not for coercing sex from anybody. I consecrated this under the auspices of Aphrodite herself. She was present in the room, and we agreed that she was going to run ham on anybody who decided that they were going to try to coerce somebody into having a sexual relationship against their consent. Consent is a must with this talisman. However, it's also designed to create situations where, of course, there's going to be consent, because it's actually going to be you being attracted to people who are attracted to you, and vice versa. It enhances the attraction that you feel in social situations, if that's what you need. For people who are already in relationships, this is for cleaning up your sexuality so that you can begin to clear out your whatever might be in the way within a relationship. It's good for that, because a lot of people get involved with one another and then find out later that they actually aren't the person that they thought they were when they first got together. And getting all of that, keeping it healthy and clean as you continue to be together after you've established a life together, it can be difficult, So this is for cleaning that up too, if you need that. So basically, if you're in a relationship, what it should be doing when you get this talisman is increasing and cleaning up your sex life so that it provides more healthy, vigorous, and rewarding sexual experiences for everybody involved. And that can include just communication, because a lot of times we haven't communicated our desires very well to one another because they are shameful. We've been told our whole lives. So this is good for clearing up communications around that too, if necessary. In polyamorous relationships, I expect it to bring whoever's carrying it a very good experience with whoever they happen to be with. For single people who are also, they have sexual urges too. I mean, you don't have to be in a relationship to get laid. It's a nice thing about being human. I like it because I'm ruled by Venus, I'm a Taurus, and I super appreciate being in a relationship. And the sexual intimacy that comes from knowing your partner for a while. But that's not for everybody, and this talisman is also for people who are looking for a series of low attachment interactions with people so that they can express that sexual aspect of themselves without having all of the other obligations, responsibilities and whatnot that go with that they don't necessarily have time or attention to focus on. All right, so that's the intention of these talismans. That's basically what they're going to do for you in a nutshell. Best sex of your life with the most willing partner or partners that you've ever wanted. No threat to existing relationships, but also it is going to create new relationships for people who want them. But it's very much about when you pick it up, the spirits that are represented on this talisman will sort of do a read on you, figure out what you need specifically that would most satisfactorily meet your sexual desires and needs. And then it sets about, the four spirits on the back set about creating the experiences and the opportunities that you need to manifest that within your life. So it's not going to be like an overnight thing, but it will immediately change the way you feel about yourself and about the way you express yourself sexually. Like as soon as I held it in my hand, I could feel it's a very strangely clarifying and focusing sensation. So anyway, it's a very interesting thing. But let me get into the symbolism in it. Specifically, I want to start with the Fascinus, of course. But I'm going to talk about the Fascinus and the first pinnacle of Venus is on the back of it, and I'll talk about why I chose those things, of course, and then how it all got consecrated together using the whole Dervani manuscript approach to conjuration that I've been doing lately. And I'll discuss the actual conjuration rite so that if you want to emulate it, you can totally do that in your own cosmology and on your side of things. And I'm going to wrap this up with a way to create these on your own, because I am totally selling these. They're $325. But I know that that's a shit ton of money. And one of the nice things I get a lot from people is that we are overcharging for shit or whatever. I don't know. All this stuff is free on the internet. Okay, I learned all of this stuff watching people talk about things, hearing about things, researching my interests, pursuing those things, and experimenting with it with my occult tools. I made a table of practice. I conjured the spirits and I talked to them and I asked them these things and I learned this stuff from them, or I thought I did, and then I tested it and it seemed to work. So I've done a lot of experimentation based on my reading, but all my reading comes from like esotericarchives.com. Free stuff, like all of the Western mystery traditions, if you want to call it that, the at least the Greek through European mystery traditions. All that stuff through the 17th century or so is up there on this site. And you can just go and see it for free. It tells you how to do all this stuff. These talismans, the Key of Solomon, it's all right there. You can see it right there. Sarah Mastros has a great book out on the talismans. Her book alone would give you everything you need to manifest a whole life. It's all right there. It's out there. It's information is there and all that stuff, and it tells you how to do it. Okay, and the Key of Solomon talismans you can write on paper. This talisman you can write on paper. It's a Venus talisman that I made in the hour of Venus during a waxing moon. That's the criteria: waxing moon, hour of Venus, day of Venus. Green ink on clean paper. You can make this yourself. You can do your own conjuration. I conjured Aphrodite. I conjured the four spirits that are represented on the disc. Sarah was calling them wheels, and for some reason, since she started calling them wheels, I'm calling them wheels every time I look at them. But this talisman with the four angels on it, that is the those are the spirits that are going to manifest all this stuff. But the thing is this information is all out there, all right, and it's all stuff you can do for free. And I'm charging $325 for these because I think they're cool. Okay, I had this Fascinus thing. I asked, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Thank you, Adeline. Adeline Soothtel. Adeline. Anyway, I asked Adeline Soothtel to put this together to create the Fascinus symbol for me, and the symbol of the talisman, the first pinnacle of Venus there. I asked them to create this image for me based on my interpretation of it. I want it with the name spelled out in Latin language, even though they're Hebrew angels, and the Fascinus, I needed a special kind of graphic for my laser to be able to engrave it. So I had them create this, and they went out and they found the actual Fascinus itself from Pompeii and based it on, I believe it is this one. I'm not sure for sure if this was the image that they based it on. But they found this image, right, or a couple of different images, and put that thing together for me. So I put time and effort into creating these talismans, and this thing on the copper thing. I love this laser thing. I love doing it, and I'm proud of these little things, and I think they're worth $325. And I've done the consecration on them. I've done the blessings on them. I think they're cool as shit, and that's what I'm charging for them. And if you don't want to pay that, you don't have to pay that. You can make it yourself. Get your own one. Do it your own way. It's fine. You don't have to buy my stuff. Okay, and I know it costs a lot. It's because I think highly of myself. That's all it is, but I think highly of you too. I don't think that my talismans are any more effective than the ones you make for yourself, and probably honestly less so. Because I think honestly we should be doing this stuff ourselves. So if you want me to do it for you, yes, but you got to pay me for it. So, okay. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. So, the Fascinus. So, this little dude, the winged phallus here that we see through the 1st through 3rd centuries. This one was found in Pompeii around the eruption of Vesuvius. They found pictures of this flying penis on the walls all across Rome through that time period. It is a symbol that was thought to, it was not just thought to, it was obviously used against the evil eye. It wards off the evil eye. There are pictures of the flying phallus spewing semen right into the red and sorrowful eye of the evil eye. So it's basically, it gets rid of the evil eye by being absurd, by being a obscene absurdity, and it's the laughter at what happens, the mockery of the evil eye that actually breaks the curse of the evil eye. It's that laughing, that was thought to break up that evil energy that was being cast towards you. Just ha ha ha, and it's psh, so it's just like poke out the eyes of the devil, So they would put a talisman around the neck of a newborn infant to keep jealous people from cursing their child with their evil eyes and their bad intent. But the reason that this winged phallus was specifically thought to be a good icon for this, the reason it got its powers, divine power against Malefica, comes from the fact that it is it's a symbol for the generative force of creation. Okay, so the generation of life, the beginning of life itself, the source of life is represented by this thing. So generation of life, generation of creation. That's what it was used for. And why was this particular, why the phallus? Because this is particularly the severed phallus of a god, right? So it's not just any phallus; it's a god's severed phallus. Now, if you're familiar with the Greek mythology, the way that I'm particularly fond of, we do happen to have a deity in our pantheon who we know had his dick cut off. The severed phallus is the severed phallus of Uranus, Uranus, the sky, the god who, when everything first began and Gaia emerged from chaos, and what was it? First there was night and darkness, and Gaia came forth, and then Eros came out eventually. And when Eros came out, she had desire, and overcome with desire, she expressed sky to have sex with. So all of a sudden, she needed to have sex and create something, because she had desire. And Gaia's desire is to create and manifest this material world. That's her urge, is to make all this stuff happen. So she manifested Uranus, and Uranus gladly took on the role of, and he showed up with his cosmic prick, and together they started creating life, But he had this prophecy where he was going to get killed by one of his offspring, so he wouldn't let any of them be born. So she got mad, had her wonderful son Kronos take a stone sickle and cut off his dad's penis from within the womb, and the sky, my dick, he goes up into the sky, and he's like far, far away from Earth, never to see her again. And the foam, the foam of the semen and the blood of the severed phallus and the phallus itself fall down into the ocean. And we know that Aphrodite eventually comes up out of the foam. She's the goddess of love that comes from this horrific act of emasculation and the separation of Uranus from the power of generation and creation in the universe, right? So up until that time, Gaia manifested Uranus as the will that directed the creative seed into the material world. That was what his job was. And when he stopped allowing that stuff to materialize, when he wouldn't allow it to come into being, he was severed from that generative force. The generative force remains. The universe is still going to be created. Gaia still is going to manifest whatever the hell she wants to, but he doesn't get to have a say in it anymore. It was the slicing off of his personality, his will, his ability to direct those forces. And Kronos then, he took over and he ruled, but he didn't actually take anything over as he just kind of kept it in place and ran the golden age. And then Zeus came along and did stuff later on with that. We'll get to that in a minute. But what happens to the phallus, right? So the severed phallus of the god. What happens when the penis falls into the ocean? Well, what happens is up out of the foam, this little penis head rises, and it spreads its wings, and it flies up into the sky, off into the sun, and it becomes the sun itself. Okay, so the sun itself is this phallus. And what do we know about the sun today? We know that the sun is the source of life and light on the earth. Okay, and I'm not talking about like mystically, I'm talking about literally. The sun in our solar system is where we get the light that we turn into life on earth. It's how we do all this, right? It's because of the sun. The sun is that phallus. It's the generative force that allows life to happen on Earth. Entropy is what happens in a closed system. Entropy causes everything to dissolve. We have no more power. We have no more structure to put the power through. And everything just falls back into its component parts. And we would just be a lump in space, a cold rock, without the power of the sun, creating more energy to flow through this material world, to refresh it, to renew it. We have this light coming in, and we're supposed to have the infrared going out. It's supposed to be energy in, energy out, as much energy in as goes out, so that we maintain the heat and we have a little bit of extra energy to form life, and trap that carbon. That's what we need to be doing. So anyway, yeah. So this phallus went up into the air in the mythology. This mythological phallus goes up in the air and becomes the sun, the source of energy of life, the generative force of life on Earth, right? In this cosmology from thousands of years ago, and it just happens to be what we know the sun is today. So if you look at the sun, the reason we know that the sun is the phallus, if you look at the solar symbol of astrology, it is a circle with a dot in the middle. That's what the penis looks like, right? When you look straight at a penis, that's a penis head. The sun is the penis of God. Okay, if you look at Osiris, when Osiris had his self severed apart and they put them all back together, they couldn't find his cock, right? His cock they had a golden cock, right? Because his real cock was already up in the sky. It's traveling over the heavens, and and his name On. That On that's traveling over the heavens in Egyptian mythology is the cock of Osiris, right? But in the Greek mythology, it's the cock of Uranus, and it's the source of light, life, love, and liberty on the earth, right? It really is all those things that Thelemites tell you it is. It really is true. But it spread its wings and it became the sun. So this symbol on this talisman that I made, going back to the talisman real quick, that's not just a dick with wings with a dick, right? It's not that. It's not a fucking penis, you guys. The sun is obviously not a penis. It's a ball of incandescent gas that is literally creating life on this planet. The thing on that disc, that disc represents, that phallic there, yes, it's a phallus, and it's all about the big dick joke, right? And it's because this whole universe it's a big dick joke. It's not a dick, though, and it's not about penises, and it's not about sex. Okay, the sex aspect of this is because in the incarnation that we're in, we need to have sex, okay? But this is about generating your reality, okay? This is about creating your reality. This is the source of life, light, love, and liberty on the face of the earth. That's why I chose that symbol for this. So, yeah. Anyway, that's important, I think. So that's the Fascinus. That's where that comes from, the winged penis. It is the sun. It is the source of power. It's not just about a dick getting laid. It's about that creative force of the universe that starts all the things that we experience. So let me turn this off. Yeah, I already saw that. Okay, so let's turn our attention back to Venus. When we when that phallus was severed and the bloody foam was in the sea, what comes up out of that foam is Aphrodite herself. Okay, and the phallus, that Fascinus with the wings that goes up and becomes the source of light and life, and the generative principles of creation on the earth. That masculine, that male. Obviously, it's a penis, so it's obviously the masculine side of that. That feminine side of that urge to procreate, urge to create, urge to materialize the unmanifest into this manifest world. All of that manifested in that moment as Venus. Venus is the embodiment of that Fascinus potency in the feminine form. She is the perfect receptacle for that creative spark. She's the other half of it, if you will. That feminine, the loveliness of the new relationship energy, no matter whether you're male or female or whatever kind of relationship you're in, whatever kind of sexuality you're in. When you're in a new relationship, that spark of all that, or in a long-term relationship, that spark of romance that you feel when you look over at your partner, that spark of desire that you feel when you look over at them, and it's just, and you both like feel it, and your eyes are, when you get that feeling, that energy in that moment is what she's all about. That spark of desire, spark of pursuing, that eros, that erotic fulfillment of creation, the coming together of obviously coming together, but the friction of creating things, the process of creation, the process of everything about having sex is very much a metaphor. It's symbolic of the process of manifestation and materialization. You got to get things warmed up, you got to get things properly lubricated, you've got to get things pressed in the right places and adjusted in appropriate ways, and you got to know what you're dealing with and know what they like and what they don't like. I got to know what you're after and what your interests are, what pleases you, and what pushes you too fast or too slow. All that stuff. That's every aspect of your life. Everything takes forever to get ready. Everything takes forever to get prepared just right. Everything doesn't just happen whenever you have the urge to have it happen. You have to put some time into it, some effort. It has to be there. Everything doesn't just always work. You have to put some effort into this stuff. And that's everything, whether it's getting a job, making money, buying a house, creating a new business, looking for a new product to sell. Like, I got these lasers. I'm like, what am I going to do with them? I got to make stuff to sell, right? If I'm going to sell stuff, if I want to make money on it, I got to figure all that stuff out. And there's a whole process, and the whole process of getting laid is very much like the process of creating things, because it's creation. This whole thing that we're talking about here, it's a metaphor for getting what you want and creating your life, creating a beautiful fucking life. It's awesome. It's delicious. That's wonderful. And when you're like enjoying it, when you've, when you're happy because you're not spending all your time frustrated, when you're fulfilled and you have a sec to appreciate things because you're not anxiously worried about whether or not you're going to get laid again ever before you die. You can take time to enjoy your life and take time to create other things. Spend some time making other things manifest. Anyway, so I believe, is sex a sin? No, sex is not a sin. Sex is a natural expression of our wonderful experience on the earth. Sex is beautiful. I'm a Taurus. Like, caveats, everything I say is my opinion. Your mileage may vary. This is all just my take on things, and I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm not a trained professional. I just happen to really enjoy magic and whatnot. So anyway, grains of salt. So no, sex is not a sin. Sex is a part of the human condition. We are in these animal machines. We are spirits in this material world, right? In these bodies that are born and die, an animal body. They live an animal life along with all these other animals on the planet. And we'll get to what those are in our cosmology here in a minute. But while we're in the flesh, we still have animal needs, urges, desires, whatnot. The way that the human body stays alive is by having more babies. Okay, that's what it does. We have a drive to have babies. Okay, and when there's too many babies, nature has ways to deal with that. Okay, and all that we're going through all of our stuff that we experience today, that we dress up in politics and emotions and social mores and mental illness and mental health and repression and my parenting and all this stuff. It's just ways of, it's overlays, it's modern ways of dealing with these biological conditions that we have that come with a life. Okay, we have to eat, to drink, we have to exercise, we have to stay healthy to maintain an existence here. There's a bare minimum of things you have to do. Guess what also is on that list? Sex, because it's part of the body. The body wants to have more bodies to have available for our spirits in the future. See it that way if you want. I like that way. But the body is going to want to have babies, and it's not a sin. Nothing on this earth is a sin. It's not wrong to be born. It's not wrong to live a life. You know, it's wrong to hurt people, to cause harm that doesn't have to be caused. I mean, that's the human thing. And we know right from wrong. All right, we have different times, have different values, different people have different standards. And right and wrong is not going to be the same for everybody, of course. It's not a black and white world. But you know, everybody has an idea of what's right and what's wrong, what they want and what they don't want, you know, and within that construct, we know that there is a right and wrong. But is sex a sin? No. Okay, everybody has a way to express sex in a healthy way in their society, usually. Not everybody, but I mean, most societies try to find a way for there to be a healthy expression for sex. If a culture or society is teaching that a natural biological function is a sin, it's using your existence, things that you cannot control, to manipulate your behavior in your mind. That's horse crap. Okay, things you can control is like whether or not you like, all right, guys, don't get to rape women, right? You don't get to force yourself on other people. That's not okay, right? But having a sexual urge is not a sin. Using it poorly and harming other people is wrong, right? And that's obvious, I think. Anyway, these talismans are not for any kind of. Just to be really clear, these talismans have been programmed at the spiritual level to harm anybody who tries to use them to force or coerce unwilling partnerships. Okay, that's just what they're going to do. Aphrodite will cause you to go mad. You will be chained to your madness if you attempt to use this to force somebody else. So just want to be very clear about that. Anyway, I have strong feelings about that particular thing. Can't tell. But let's carry on with all this stuff. So we've got Venus, the female embodiment of that creative force, that same winged force of creation that winged phallus is, right? And there's like the masculine and feminine dynamic there. And then we have these four angels from the first talisman of Venus, and they are, let's see, where's their names? Let's see. I'm sorry, I don't. I was looking at the wrong thing. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. The first pinnacle, it's from the first pinnacle of Venus. They are, let me go back to the picture here so you can see it again. All right, so it's these guys around the disc here. The four names are, let's see, Nogahiel, Akelia, Sakodia, and Nangariel. Okay, so those are the four spirits that are the names that are engraved on there. And the reason that I put them there is because in the Key of Solomon, you've got the 7 planetary sets of talismans, and in each set of planetary talismans, there's one that has 4 angel names on it. And I've been working with the 4 angels of each of these 7 talismans for about, I want to say 5 or 6 years now, 10 years, somewhere like that. A while now. I've been treating them as if they were the material manifestors of the rest of the talismans. And I've been working with them directly as sort of like the planetary representatives in the material world for the last few years. And I've got another talisman I put together, the Monsters of the Moon, that actually is just all 4 of those, or all 7 of those talismans with the 4 spirits. So it's like the 28 spirits all on one bracelet, and it's really cool. It's a whole chain of manifestation. But that's what this is all about. Is they're the 4, I want to say almost like elemental terrestrial rulers that manifest Venus's powers here on the Earth, according to my understanding of what this does. And that's what it does for this talisman, because that's what I programmed it to do. I called them all together. That's what I put it together to do. So, so this talisman, then, just so you know, the imagery has the Fascinus, the Venus, the Fascinus is on it. It's consecrated under the auspices of Venus and Aphrodite Venus, and it's got the 4 spirits there. I conjure all 4 of those to work together with that. So it's the power of creation filtered through the deity, the mind, and the heart, and everything that Aphrodite represents as that force, and then filtered through that into that power is then filtered through those 4 material spirits, the 4 terrestrial kings or angels or whatever that serve the manifestation process above and below. Right, so they actually administer the ascension of things into the unmanifest and the descension of things from the manifest world as they relate to Venus here in our experienced world. So it's source, deity, and elemental distribution. So just remember that pattern, sort of head, middle, and then everything else, right? So now we're going to get into, with that, we're going to segue over into the Derveni manuscript. Because that's the cosmology. And I'm going to talk about that because we're going to go over that real quick and then touch on what the consecration looked like so that you can build your own consecration. That's what you do. All right, so let me turn this off. No, I don't think I have any pictures for this. Oh, that's right, because I have. Huh. Okay, close this off. See me. I've been using AI all day to try to figure out why my NVMe drive wasn't working properly. But yes, I fixed that. It worked. All right, so this is the Derveni theogony. Many questions and some answers. This is a PDF. I've got a link to it in the comments here below. This is a wonderful PDF that is by Alberto Bernabe, or Bernabe. I'm not sure how to say his name. He's a Spanish scholar. He's wonderful. I love this text. He went through the Derveni manuscript and he did an analysis of it, and he put together his interpretation of it here in this, or at least some of the answers that he reached based on it, on his explorations in this manuscript, in this PDF. And everything that I teach and believe currently in practice and base all my practices on, when it comes to Orphism or this whole Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, and Zeus the all in all, I'm going to talk a lot about that here in a minute. It's all from this PDF. Okay, I didn't go back to the original Derveni manuscript and look at all the pieces and the words and the letters and translate them directly and determine what I thought it really should be and look at all that. I didn't do all that. Alberto Bernabe did all that. He's an actual scholar who knows what the hell he's doing, and he came up with this interpretation of it. And reading his interpretation was like reading my understanding of how things actually worked. It was like a clear representation of what I have experienced as the reality of my existence for the last at least 5 or 6 years, clearly spelled out. And I thought it was just brilliant. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So definitely read through it if you want. It explains everything. I'm going to refer to it quite a bit as we go through the next little bit. I don't want to argue about whether or not it's right. Okay. There's going to be people that have different interpretations of the source materials. Bernabe is not the only person that has put this interpretation together. People don't agree with his understanding of it. There aren't any stronger arguments than his. Nobody has a better explanation, in my opinion. And I've read all the other ways of looking at it. I think this is the most cohesive and coherent way to express what information is available. I don't care if he's wrong, okay? Because even all right, so there's this thing called a mystagogue, and this was an actual role back in the 500 BC era, 800 BC era, back in the Orphic times. And basically, someone would take the Hesiod, and they would put together a group of teachings that were about the mystical experiences that they had, and they would wrap it in the language of the mythology of the time, but they would actually be teaching their own spiritual path using the language and the symbols of the Hesiod, for example, or the Iliad, and this is how we got the different variations. That's how Orphic traditions came into being. That's how the different mystery traditions emerged. It was you have these spiritual transformative experiences, and you realize that that's what the myths were actually talking about. And were the myths really talking about that? I don't know, because we have different transformational experiences at different times in history. A person in the 1960s had to go through a certain kind of transformations to break free and have spiritual experiences that someone in the first century wouldn't have had to go through at all. It was completely different. Oh, by the way, hey, guys, I just want to interrupt myself here for a second. I don't know if you just saw those bubbles pop up, but it turns out that with the Macintosh computer, when you're using the cameras, if you do this, where is it? Wait, it's not going to do it, of course. There it goes. Look at that. What? Why is that even a thing? I'm sorry, but anyway, apparently I like to do thumbs up in my various things, and when you do thumbs up in the camera in Microsoft, or I'm sorry, in Macintosh, if it catches it. Well, anyway, back to an actual point here. Yeah, so these mystagogues would go around and they would wrap up their actual teachings in the myths and whatnot of their time. That's basically what I'm doing. Okay, I'm taking my mystical experiences and I'm wrapping it up in specifically this Zeus mythos, because this manuscript that Alberto Bernabe put together, this PDF that he has that describes the Derveni manuscript, is spot on for explaining my understanding of the Neoplatonic system of the Nous, the Logos, the governors of the seven spheres, and the process of the magician that we have in the Corpus Hermeticum. Like, all of that is understandable through this PDF and this understanding of the Derveni manuscript. But it strips away some of the complexities to a more pure form that I appreciate, because my father raised me to see relationship with God over religion, and the personal experience that you have with God is always supposed to trump whatever the church is telling you or all that stuff. I picked that up from him, and I've had some really great experiences with deity, with the sources of being, that have taken me down a completely different path than it did with him. But it's great, and I want people to have that experience. But I don't want you to think that I really believe that Zeus is the Zeus is the demiurge of the universe, or that there is a demiurge of the universe. This is a system of understanding the process of creation that puts you in control of your life as a magician. Okay, your cosmology is your understanding of your role versus the unmanifest role, the invisible things, wherever you think your thoughts come from, or other people's thoughts, or spiritual experiences, or gods, or whatever, however you interpret all this stuff, whatever framework you use to process that, that's your cosmology, right? This is the one that basically it's best for me. You're going to design your own. I'm not going to design your cosmology for you. But this is just a really simple way to express it. But the cosmology that it expresses is the same one that Robert Anton Wilson expresses in the Illuminatus trilogy. Okay, it's not new, and it's not Zeus, and it's not the Nous mind, and it's not the all thing, and it's not Heinlein's idea of soteriology, or I'm sorry, what's it called, solipsism. It's not that solipsism. It's not any of those things. It's this made up something, personal gnosis, unverifiable gnosis, right? it's not something you can prove is true. Okay, but it's you can prove it's true in your magic. Like, my magic is more effective than it ever has been using this system. Okay, and it's given me a framework to understand where I come from and what we're doing here and how to get these invisible things to work with us. And it seems to be really good at all this stuff. Is it true? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that these symbols are the ones that express themselves in my life so that I can access them and be the magician that I'm supposed to be, so that I can enjoy my life. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be true in my next life that I'm going to believe in Zeus or Buddhism, or maybe I'm not even going to materialize on Earth, or maybe there isn't going to be a next life. Maybe that's not how it works. I don't know, But anyway, the point is this stuff that we're doing here, it's creating a framework that allows us to direct the invisible forces to materialize what we want. And what I want is to create these talismans that get people laid in ways that are great for them. So I use the symbol sets that allow me to do that. I've approached it from my understanding based on my drug experiences and my initiations and my studies and my personal devotions and my magical practices and my transformations and my therapy. I go to therapy quite a bit. All this stuff piles up to create this system, and it's a great way to materialize things. But anyway, let's get back to the actual Orphic stuff here. So the basic theory is that everything that happened in the Hesiod happened. Okay, and chaos, and then Gaia emerges, and night, and all that stuff emerges, and then the gods are born, and we have the Kronos defeats Uranus. Uranus becomes sky and far away from his wife, and Gaia has her titans and her monsters, and then Kronos doesn't like the monsters; they're ugly, so he puts them in hell. And he doesn't let Rhea's babies be born because one of them is going to usurp him. So he's swallowing the babies. And Rhea is pissed and Guy is pissed. So they conspire to swap a stone for the last baby, Zeus, and raise him to be this rebel. And they raise Zeus to be a rebel out from this cave, raised by these nymphs, and these wild gods are pounding stuff so that Kronos doesn't know that he's there, that he's crying and stuff. But he gets raised to be a rebel, right? And then Metis teaches him how to create this poison that puts everybody to sleep, and he gets his brothers and sisters out, and they defeat the Titans, and then they defeat the giants, and then they rule in Olympus, and he sets up everything that happens throughout the heroic age, and we hear about Heracles, and then according to the Orphic traditions, they go on, and there's the whole Dionysus thing and all that stuff, and I don't understand the Dionysus stuff. It's fine. You don't have to understand everything to be able to work with the stuff, thank God. But it all does work together eventually, because humans are very good at adapting themselves and what they believe to what they have to work with. So sooner or later, I'll figure it out. But Zeus himself, right, in this system that I'm working with. So Zeus, after he rules for a while as king in Olympus and throughout the heroic age, he starts to have troublesome dreams, right? And he's having a hard time dreaming, dealing with his dreams. And he realizes that there's something he has to do. So he goes down and he goes to the cave of night, and he's afraid to go in. And he's like talking to Nyx, and this is the stuff that Bernabe talks about. And you got to go through the intro here. But basically what he ends up talking about is how when Zeus goes down to night, he discusses with her how the universe came into being. He tells her about his dreams, and she confirms that what he thinks he's supposed to do is really what he's supposed to do. And basically what happens is she's telling him that, you're having these nightmares because this universe is going to fall apart, and you have to consume the creative force of the universe. It doesn't have a will directing it right now. Okay, so it's just creating all this chaos, right? And there's no direction of this force. So this happens over here, and this happens over there, and these things happen together, and this thing over here is happening separately. But all these things are just being created, and we have to figure out how to get it all together. And but if there was a will directing the forces of this creation, then everything would be more harmonious, right? So we got to remember that we don't know what was really said between the two of them. because what happens is Zeus listens to her and goes up and he finds the Fascinus, the phallus of his father, and he consumes it. He ingested the penis that first procreated the aether, it says here, right? And Bernabe explains all that and what it means, but basically, this is where he talks about where the son is the genital organ, and the genital organ of the god becomes a son. All that stuff that I said is not. It's not. I didn't come up with any of it. This is stuff that other people have found to be true. It's entirely. It's I think it's accurate, but it's because it's just anyway. Moving on. We talk. It talks a little bit about how Zeus went through the whole process and became the demiurge, right? And so he goes up, he finds the Fascinus, he swallows it, and when he does, the entire universe collapses in on him, and he becomes consumed completely. He's gone, the whole universe is gone, and he becomes the creative force itself. And there's nothing. Okay, now this is where our history begins. Like when you look at the Corpus Hermeticum, it talks about the light that was infinite, and then it condensed a part of itself, and then we had the 4 elements and everything, and the holy word came down, and then the elements were ordered. All that stuff, or in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right, from John. Or in the beginning, the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters, right? Whatever beginning of creation, the Ben stone, the emergence of Gaia the emergence of night and darkness from chaos, primordial chaos. Whatever creation mythos we have, all those begin after Zeus has become the will that is governing that creative principle according to the Stervani manuscript and interpretation. So Zeus is the demiurge. He swallows the phallus and he recreates the universe, and everything that we have as a history, including the Hesiod story that got morphed into this thing that I'm telling you now. The Hesiod itself was also just the recreated aspect that Zeus recreated based on his what he desired and ordered universe to look like. Right? So it was originally a lot more chaotic. He did not recreate every god. But this thing talks about how, in the Stervani manuscript, it talks about how on him were gestated all the immortals, blessed gods and goddesses, the rivers, lovely springs, and everything else that had then been born. He himself alone became. So when he swallows the phallus, he goes back in time, and he becomes the source of everything. Everything comes, he begins to remanifest the world through himself. All right, so he is Zeus the head at that moment, right? Before he begins to remanifest anything, when he's just himself, that big ball of light, the Ein Sof Or, right? That essence that came before everything else. He is that. In that moment, he is Zeus the head, okay? And in the Stervani manuscript, they refer to Zeus as Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. And I'll say that a lot. That's part of my mantra that I use for my consecration. But Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all, Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to pantokrator. All right, that's my mantra. I say it over and over. Stuff, and it's great. I love it. It's very powerful. But it's that essence of Zeus the head refers to that moment when he swallowed the phallus and became the center and the will that through which that generative force that creates the universe began to manifest everything else that we experienced. So when it talks then about all the immortals, blessed gods and goddesses, the rivers, lovely springs, and everything else that had then been born, he himself alone became. Right? What does that mean? It means first thing he did was he manifested the gods, the blessed gods. On him were gestated all the immortals, blessed gods and goddesses. Okay, so when you see the stuff coming out of chaos, that's them emerging from that Zeusness. They're gestating on him. They're emerging as Gaia, as Ouranos when she brings him forth, as Erebos, as Nyx, as Eros. He's the one that's gestating those gods, and those are the gods he chose on purpose to build his universe. His universe is built around the concept of what first? darkness, night and darkness. Gaia comes next. Eros, purpose, what's it called? Undeniable purpose, right? Fate. All those things came because that's part of what he wanted to weave it together. But Eros was what sparked the actual creative aspect of everything, because sex is important to him in this universe. The generative process, the creative process is part and parcel of every aspect of existence. We see it in the sky, the night sky, the echoes of the Big Bang. We can see it in the sky. It's still there. It's still glowing. It's still in the process of creation. We're still living that expressive moment. We're just manifesting it forward, okay? So that's that moment of expression. It's still ongoing. But that middle part, Zeus the middle. So Zeus the head is that source that swallowed the fowls. Zeus the middle is the gestated gods. That's the consciousnesses that take the unmanifest will of Zeus and begin to materialize it, right? So Gaia provides the groundwork upon which everything is built, right? Eros creates the desire to create things in it. Uranus creates the driving force that's going to be necessary for us to be able to have this experience, right? All that stuff comes together to express the will of Zeus. And the will of Zeus is everything that happens after that. But Zeus is the middle also. He is each of those gods. Each of those gods is an aspect of he himself alone. Okay? He himself alone became what? Became the gods. And they're individuated. But what else are they? They are pools of his consciousness, pools of his awareness, pools of his expression of himself, right? And they know what they are. They know what they want. They have their own actions and activities. They have their own realms of control and things that they are the boss of. They're an aspect of that, right? We are too, okay? The angels that minister to these gods, they are too aspects of this. They are aware. They have powers. They have authority over an aspect of existence. They create things. They make things happen. They materialize things. They take that invisible will of Zeus and they push it into this material world where it becomes an experience. They are the middle. They're the middle level managers, right? If you want to call it that, of manifestation. They're the intelligences that maintain and materialize things, and then when it's time to fade away, they take it back and recycle it and produce it again, okay? Or whatever they do with it. I don't know. I'm not there. But that's the process, and that's what they are. They're the middle part. But they're not here in this material world. We are. We're the part of that middle that is also of the flesh. So are the animals, right? Animals that are pools of this consciousness. Maybe they don't have as dense as we do. Maybe they don't have sentience in the same way that we do, that we can experience and communicate with them in the same way. But they do have an aspect of that. We can tell that they're aware. Plants have an awareness. The mushrooms have an awareness. There's a consciousness that is exchanging nutrients that we can't participate in with our prefrontal cortex and our words, but we are a part of. Mushrooms talk to us. We talk to mushrooms at a very fundamental biological level. We are biologically of this planet. Animals, just like everything else. We have sexual drives. It's part of it. We have that aspect, but we're also unmanifest. We can take a thought, we can picture a circle in our mind and draw a circle, and there's a circle. We've got wall art from, 10,000, 15,000 years ago from some cave person drawing a circle on the wall, painting their hand, whatever. We have that. It was in their head. They materialized it, and we can see it 10,000 years later. We know that they took something unmanifest and they manifested it. Human beings are manifestors of the unmanifest. We are the material angels. If you look at Dionysius the Areopagite, we're the angels of the material world, right? So we are the manifestors of that. We are the expressions of that creative force, the creative power of manifestation itself, right? That's it. We are, as magicians, we contact these other spirits and we direct the forces into our lives. And if we're not working with the spirits, they're working with us, in my opinion. So anyway, so that's the cosmology. Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, and going back to that poem, all the immortals, blessed gods and goddesses. That's what the middle is, and then Zeus the all in all is the rivers, lovely springs, and everything else that had then been born. He himself alone became. So that third aspect of all this stuff is Zeus to Pantocrator. Zeus the all in all. So Zeus the all in all is this experienced world. All the experiences that these angels and demons and magicians put together for us to have in our lifetimes, all those things are actually experienced in the Zeus to Pantocrator. So Zeus the head comes up with the ideas and is the filtering will through which the creative power that he consumed is manifested into our material world. Zeus the middle is all of the intelligences and spirits and gods and demons and angels and human beings and ancestors and anything that is consciously aware of directing the unmanifest into the material world. These things are known as the middle part, right? That's the middle part. And then the place where it all takes place is to Pantocrator, Zeus the all in all. Okay, but these are all three aspects of the same thing. Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. So this is why I love this manuscript, and this is why I love this interpretation of it, because it gives us a threefold understanding of what happens. And it says here, Zeus was born first, Zeus of the shining bolt was last. Zeus is head, Zeus is center, all things are from Zeus. Zeus is the breath of all, Zeus the Moira of all, Zeus the king, Zeus ruler of all, he of the shining bolt. He of the shining bolt. So I read that the first time, my arm hairs all stood up, and I'm like, he of the shining bolt. And the shining bolt was revealed to me in a moment of unverifiable personal gnosis that the shining bolt is the pattern of manifestation, right? The bolt is at the head of it, the top of it is a solid single shaft of light. It starts with one shaft of light, and then it branches out, and then it branches out again into this infinite fractal thing, right? But along the way, there's like one column, and then there's like several columns, and then there's millions of tips in this Mandelbrot looking set of lightning bolt tips. There's millions of them in every different direction when you see a really big bolt of lightning. And that's the image that I see in my mind when I think about this. And that's the path of manifestation, right? So if you look at what they call the tree of life, it was the lightning path of manifestation, right? The path of manifestation is a lightning bolt because it comes from Zeus the head, it's the main bolt, to Zeus the middle, the spirits that manifest the idea, right? And Zeus the all in all, the world where it's expressed. All right, so and if you think of as above, so below, the mind of Zeus or whatever, the newest mind is way above whatever, behind everything. And it's manifesting things through the middle, the above. Everything that we consider above and as above, so below is actually Zeus the middle. And then everything that we consider down below is Zeus the all in all. Okay, so that's the cosmology that we're working with. And the lightning bolt is the beginning of the bolt, the middle of the bolt, and then the outer edges of the bolt. And in my talisman, it's the Fascinus symbol that represents the source of power, the deity Aphrodite through whom it was filtered, and the four administering spirits into the material world. So then when I did the conjuration, I put it all together, and I'll go ahead and go over the conjuration process and wrap things up here. So we're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody who hung in there. If you're not hanging in there, I totally understand. But this is much better than yesterday. I promise you. It was very haphazard, I must say. All right, so let's go back to the actual talismans here. Okay, so okay, so when I actually came time to do the conjuration and the consecration of the spirits to materialize the powers, I was only able to make 3 of these. By the way, I had about maybe, I want to say, at least 15 attempts to get those 3. So it's not, this whole thing is a process. Getting it right is not easy. Hey Joey, how's it going? Oh, by the way, Joey, don't forget to email me what you want. If you're the Joey, I think you are. You ordered a talisman, specialized talisman that uh, I'm ready to make for you. You just gotta tell me what you want. So, but let me know. So anyway, the the consecration rite. So to do the consecration rite, I started with my opening statement, which was basically so when I do a conjuration, I express my cosmology on my material thing here. So let me pause this real quick. There we go. Okay, so the table of practice here pretty much summarizes my cosmology, and it's the entire rite also uh, goes through and um, is framed in the same way around my cosmology. So I open with I say to myself, and I'll be into the room. I vibrate the phrase Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to panto krator, a couple, 2, 3 times until I feel that I am in the ritual headspace, right? And just because I've said it so many times within ritual, it becomes a thing that puts me into a ritual state of mind. And as I feel my body relax into the priestly mode, and the priestly muscles take over, I feel my spirit begin to connect, and I remember that I am Zeus the head, and I am Zeus the middle, and I am experiencing Zeus the all in all, right? It's all coming through me as a little microcosm of this three-part reality that is in me, but also in this room, and also in your life and in your experience, right? We're all part of this three-part harmony. And that's what I'm putting myself into when I start with this, right? So Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all, Zeus toe. Sorry, I can't remember the words, of course. Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to panto krator, Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to panto krator, Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to panto. In that moment, when you feel it, it's almost like everything gets quiet around, falls into place, and you know the room is listening. At that moment, maybe actually be in the right. So I present an offering to my holy guardian angel, a candle, incense stick, and I ask him to prepare a feast for the spirits we're going to call on. Because this is a Venus rite, I named Aphrodite and the 4 angels that I named earlier. Yeah. But I conjured them, right? I'm sorry, I asked my holy guardian angel to prepare a feast for them first, so that they would have everything that they needed when I called on them. I used that uh, sorry, the talisman at lunchtime. But I used this talisman, so that copper disc there that you see here. It's not really a disc, but that piece of copper there, I used that to charge my box or whatever to turn the light on underneath my crystal ball when I was doing the conjuration. But that was a symbol that had the 4 spirits that are on the other side of the talisman. So I conjured. So yeah, after I prepared the place with the preparations through the holy guardian angel, had him prepare the temple with all the offerings and all the appropriate decorations. I lit a candle in front of my Venus altar, and I said a quick prayer to her and asked her to come when I called her and bless the rites with her presence. And then I began the ritual, and I started with the blessings of the space and consecration of the space for our defense, and the blessing of the incense, and the blessing of the fire, and the blessing of the crystal ball, and basically calling on all the parts that were going to be used as part of the rite. And then after that, I began the conjuration of Aphrodite using the Orphic hymn to Venus. I read through it and asked her to be present, to bless these rites. I explained to her what I wanted it to be. I worked on I asked her to empower the statement of intent as it was said, and I talked to her about what I asked her advice. I got her participation and her agreement to participate. I got her feedback on it. I said I didn't want it to be used for coerciveness, and I got this flood of energy that was like such confirmation and righteous justification. Like, you could tell that she was totally into that. I don't think that Aphrodite supports those talismans that are used coercively. I haven't seen it work for anybody, and I don't think she supports those anymore. Honestly, I think that time has passed. But anyway, she's all about not letting people use these things manipulatively. Great, thank you, Joey. I appreciate that. So after I conjured Aphrodite, I conjured the 4 angels by their name and their seal, and when everybody was present, I started to just repeat that mantra over and over again, and it's not a mantra. Okay, I only started saying it over and over again because all right, so Jason Miller teaches about the Eo Heka Eo Ho thing for the Hecate practice, and I experimented with it, and sure enough, it works really great. So I also was doing some prana stuff, or not prana, some what's it called? Puja. I was doing some puja stuff with a friend of mine who's a Nath Tantrika, and we were doing some pujas to the different gods, and it was really great. So I just thought I'd try this mantra thing with Zeus Ho Kephale, Zeus Ho Mesos, Zeus To Pantocrator, and it turned out to be just as effective, if not even more so, because of my personal affinities with it. So basically, I have a mala. This is not traditional tantra at all, and I'm not initiated in tantra, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, I'm not a pro. I don't pretend to be, but I use a mala because this is convenient. I had one for my actual mantra practices that were legit-ish, more legit, but I totally use this for my Zeus To Pantocrator stuff. So I just go around, and for each beat, I say all 3 things: Zeus Ho Kephale, Zeus Ho Mesos, Zeus To Pantocrator, over and over again 108 times. So while I'm doing that 108 times, I'm visualizing, right, Aphrodite receiving the power of the Fascinus and directing it through her manifestation of that love energy, that aspect of true love, pure love, good love, into the 4 spirits who are her ministers for this talisman into this material world through the talisman, and binding it directly to the copper molecules, so that whoever's holding it then is going to be analyzed, and the spirits will immediately begin to create for that person the opportunities for the best, healthiest sexual experiences that they've ever had in their lives, right? So that's what this talisman is about. And that's what the consecration was all about, right? It was just visualizing that. The head, but Zeus the head, right, was always the source. The bolt was the Fascinus power of generative creativity. You know, Zeus the middle was always Aphrodite. Zeus the all in all was always the ministers, tying that power to the copper and to the energies around it, to the material world around it, right? So it's like Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. And at the end of the day, those talismans are the bodies of the spirits that are manifesting this in their lives. So that's what I did. And by the way, the timing on this is always Venus day, Venus hour during a waxing moon. Again, these can be made yourselves by all means. Don't ask me for my icons. I have those custom created. Not going to give them to you. You don't have my permission to use them. Make your own ones. They are available out there. Hire it done for yourself if you want, but no, you can't have mine. The flip side of those, the first Pinnacle of Venus, totally out there on esotericarchives.com. Look up the Key of Solomon. There are images of different versions of them even out there if you look through his notes on things. Joseph Peterson has an amazing set of notes. Sarah Mastros has a book on the wheels. I include a link to her course in my lessons. Yesterday when I was going over it, I put a lot more detail into that, and probably wish I did today. But basically, she's got a really great class that she's put together on using the Key of Solomon talismans, and she's really it's great. I've been taking it, and the depth that she goes into. Like when I first saw the price of it, I was like, wow, I can't believe she's charging much for it. But she offers a scholarship if if the price tag is too overwhelming. She's got a scholarship program, but it's worth it. It's worth every penny. It's not a small walk through, a quick understanding, a read through of things that you would know on your own. Like everything I offer is always going to be stuff that I've read it on the internet and I figured it out on my own. You can do that. I'm not special. Okay. I like to do it, and I do it a lot. So people, and I think people like me because I have like a good sense of humor about things. But I think I add entertainment to the presentation of stuff you could find on your own. That's my value add, is I have personality. Color commentary. But Sarah actually did a lot of research into this stuff, and she provides information I've never seen before. She understands things about it that I don't understand. And her classes are definitely worth it, and you're not going to get the information that you get from her lessons anywhere else. And the book that she wrote is amazing. And it is a standalone piece. It is awesome. I refer to it all the time. I have it out I have it next to my laser on my thing out there, because there's my little thumbs up thing. But because it's such a valuable tool, I actually refer to it while I'm doing the engravings, because it's useful. It's that useful. But the classes are just even more so, So anyway, get the book, start using it. I definitely recommend that for these talismans. But let's see, was there anything else I wanted to cover before I wrap things up? I think that's basically it. If there's any other questions, I don't see any other questions. Let's see, I always felt so close we can get to creating life like God. Exactly like God. So I want to talk real quick about how lightning is in all of our cells. We are that manifestation of lightning, and I guess that's really all I want to say about that. Anyway, okay, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to wrap things up. My throat is dry, and this is a little bit less crazy, I think, and I hope that my volume settings were much better. And my camera is working a lot better. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this. I'm going to probably delete the other one. Leave this in its place. Thanks.